This is my decade in review inspired by Marie Forleo. I joined Marie Forleo's B School in the spring of 2018, and I literally cannot even imagine my life without it. I don't know where I'd be or what I'd be doing or even like who I'd be. I'm not being dramatic when I say that B School changed my life. B School was about so much more than business to me. It was about learning who I am and what I want and what I need and how to make that work with a business. Basically, Marie made 3 YouTube videos that she released throughout December, and I watched each one of them as they came out, and I was like, oh yeah, it's been a decade, lots happened. Finally, on December 28th, I sat down with my journal, watched the 3 videos again, and did all of the exercises to complete my decade in review. Like I said, I'd already watched the videos and was just kind of like, huh? So when I actually sat down and did the exercises and thought about Marie's questions, I was shocked at how emotional it was and how much has actually happened in a decade. It's insane. I blocked off an hour and a half to watch the 3 videos and journal, and I ended up spending 4 hours thinking about this. I was actually feeling pretty down on myself in this December of 19 because I just didn't accomplish everything I wanted to this past year. But pulling back the lens, like looking at the whole decade, like wow, I'm a different person. And I'm in a very different place in my life, and even though maybe my growth is slower than I want, like I'm still on the right path, I'm still moving forward, and I need to stop being so damn hard on myself. So I just want to summarize my decade in review so that I have these thoughts here and I can do this video again in a decade. Marie's videos had 5 sections, and each section might have had like a subsection or 2. So section 1 is what I'm most proud of. A decade ago in 2009, I was really depressed. I was living in a city a few hours away from my family. I was really homesick. I really missed my siblings. I felt like I was always missing out on things going on in my hometown and with my family. I didn't have any friends in the city that I lived in, which led me to drink at home alone a lot, which led me to be more depressed and lonely and homesick. I was so lost. I didn't have direction or goals. I didn't even know like what I wanted to do for a career. I think the bottom line was that I just didn't love myself. I just didn't care about my health. And without a doubt, what I'm most proud of is that I'm not that girl anymore. That 99% of the time I can look at myself and love myself. And I want to take care of myself and I want to be healthy. I feel like my life has purpose and direction and goals, and like I know who I want to be, and I know who I am too. And I know I'm not perfect, and I have bad days, and I still have seasonal depression, sucks, like, but I've tapped back into my creativity, and I love creating videos, and I wake up in the morning and I'm excited about what the day has to offer. Like, I'm excited to be alive. I think anyone that's dealt with any level of depression understands the difference between when you care about yourself and when you don't. In the past decade, I've taken over 1,000 hours of yoga teacher training, and I've taught 1,000 hours of yoga classes. I opened up a yoga studio here in my hometown and had that for 2.5 years, which I loved, until I decided to take my business online, and now I have my online studio, which I absolutely love. I believe that this is what I was born to do. I believe this is my dharma. But I wasted 8 years of my life not doing anything to work towards my dream because a family member laughed at me when I told them I wanted to be a yoga teacher. And this person probably doesn't even remember laughing at me. But it was 2006 and I told them I wanted to be a yoga teacher, and they straight up laughed to my face. And I had been looking at a yoga teacher training that I wanted to attend, but after that like encounter and just like feeling small and stupid about wanting to be a yoga teacher, like I didn't do anything. And this was 2006. Yoga was not what it is today. It wasn't like, oh, you want to be a yoga teacher? Cool. It was like, you want to be a yoga? What's yoga? It was like, at least in my town, in my circle, it was. Basically from 2006 to 2014, I drank a lot and I would get drunk and do yoga poses and tell people I wanted to be a yoga teacher, but I didn't do anything about it. That was 8 years of my life that I just wasted, like, because someone laughed at me, because of somebody else's opinion. I knew in my heart what I wanted to do. And honestly, it wasn't until I sat down and did this decade in review exercise that that realization came to me. That I wasted 8 years of my life not pursuing a dream because somebody else laughed at me. And it makes me really sad, but there's no going back. And that's kind of the purpose of this decade in review, because now that I've had that realization, like, I will never let someone's opinion hold me back from a dream of mine ever again. And I can actually see where it was like starting to happen again, because I have a dream of moving to Maui. And I've had plenty of people tell me that that's unrealistic and expensive and like all this other crap. It's my damn dream. And I get to decide if it's unrealistic and too expensive and things like that. Really feel like throwing a couple middle fingers up here. The bottom line is that no one's opinion about my life matters more than my opinion about my life. Whew, that's only section 1. Section 2. What has become crystal clear to you over this last decade? And I decided on 3 things. The first thing that has become crystal clear to me is what I was just talking about in the last section. No one else's opinion matters more than my own. I need to listen to my own heart, to my gut, to my intuition to guide my path. I am not wasting any more of my life not pursuing my dreams or waiting for someone else's approval or permission. Life is way too short for that shit. The second thing that has become crystal clear to me is that alcohol provides 0 benefit to my life. Honestly, I think it provides 0 benefit to anybody else's life, but I think that's for everybody to figure out for themselves. I'm going to try to not go on a tangent here because I just need to make a whole nother video about alcohol and my relationship with it. But the bottom line is that alcohol is poison. Literally poison. There are no health benefits to drinking alcohol. There's only the marketing that has brainwashed us into thinking that there's benefit. Like all the marketing about the flavonoids in wine and how they're so good for you. No. The flavonoids in grapes are what's good for you. You can get those flavonoids in grape juice and not with the poison of alcohol. So like people drinking wine for health benefits, have a freaking glass of grape juice. Like I said, I wasn't gonna go on a tangent. I'm gonna try to stop, but I just wanna add that I did not know about the link between alcohol and cancer until I read the book, This Naked Mind. I've read a lot of literature and research and books about alcohol because it's been an issue. But the book, This Naked Mind, opened my eyes up to a lot of things that hadn't been pointed out to me before. And a lot of it had to do with what goes on in our subconscious because of the way alcohol has been marketed to us literally since we're kids. Like, do you remember being a kid and thinking that alcohol was cool and grown-ups were sophisticated? Or, you know what I mean? Like, you look up to alcohol like it's something to look forward to when you're an adult. That's how the marketing starts when we're kids. I don't think there's something wrong with me because of the issues I've had with alcohol. The problem is alcohol. We have this expectation, like as a society, that alcohol is this social thing and we should all be able to tolerate drinking this literal poison. And then when people can't tolerate the poison because they get too drunk or they get sick, whatever it is, it's their fault. It's not the poison's fault. Alcohol is just a socially acceptable drug, and I just think it's BS. The conclusion that I have come to is that alcohol is a poison. It causes cancer, heart disease, liver disease. It's responsible for how many deaths a day? Okay, I'm gonna end the alcohol tangent, but just a question. How many people do you know who have had their lives negatively impacted by alcohol? Death, car accidents, trouble with the law, trouble at work or school, trouble with family, friends. I mean, really think about it. When are we gonna stop blaming each other and other people and start blaming the alcohol and think that maybe we don't need this poison in our life? I'm not saying I'm perfect or trying to talk down to anybody that likes alcohol, but I just have a lot of really strong beliefs around this because of everything I've been through. And I'll just have to make a whole nother video on it because I feel like I could talk for days. The third thing that has become crystal clear to me is what triggers my anxiety and depression and like makes things worse for me. I don't know if anyone ever gets like cured of anxiety and depression. I don't claim to have cured myself or conquered that at all. But I understand my anxiety and depression so much better now than I did 10 years ago. And I understand things that trigger that in me and situations. Like I just talked about alcohol. Alcohol is a depressant. It makes you depressed. If you are depressed and you're using alcohol to like self-medicate, it makes it worse, in my experience. I encourage anyone to just look at your alcohol intake and look at how you feel the day after drinking. I've also lived in Michigan my entire life, but just realized 2 winters ago that I have seasonal depression. Any depression symptoms I have, everything gets so much worse in the winter. And I hate winter. And so I can understand that winter being a trigger and making my depression worse. I know things I need to do. Like when we get a sunshine day outside in Michigan, I need to get outside, even if it's like just getting sunshine on my face. I need to get fresh air. And one of my main goals in life is to get out of Michigan, at least in the winter time. I just do not believe I was meant to live here. Some people love snow and winter. I am not one of those people. All right, section 3, what am I willing to let go of? And Marie suggested you think about like old projects and goals and expectations. Like, are you working toward anything in your life that's like an old goal and you don't even really want that anymore? I don't feel like I really have any old goals or projects. I feel like everything I'm working on right now is something I'm really passionate about and care about, and it's my business. Letting go of expectations, on the other hand, is something I really need to work on. I talk all the time about the importance of rest and recovery and self-care, and I am the first person to push myself way too hard and beat myself up over not getting all the things done. I know I need to stop being so hard on myself. Like, I can have goals and achieve them without this like crazy expectation of 12 hours of productivity a day. Like, I want to learn to be kinder to myself, but still holding myself accountable and working towards my goals. So I want to find more balance. And then Marie talks about letting go of resentments and anger. Unfortunately, I feel like this is really hard for me. Mostly with myself. Even just looking back on this year of 2019, it's like, why did I do that? I shouldn't have done that. Why didn't I take this opportunity? And I beat myself up all the time, and I'm, like I said, I'm really hard on myself, and I really need to stop. Like, I know I can't change the past. I know there's no sense living with this like dislike of my past self. Like, I really like those quotes that's like, you know, she was doing the best she could. I love my past self, you know. But I find it really hard to live that. The way we talk to ourselves in our head is where I constantly catch myself being mean to myself, and I'm really trying to work on that. I'm really trying to catch the negative thought and the put downs right when they're happening and just stop it. Like, being mean to myself isn't making me a better person at all. I really believe that being kind to myself and forgiving myself is the healthiest thing I can do. I've talked about the book The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks before, and seeing self-sabotage the way he explains it has helped me to forgive that past version of myself, because I can see now in hindsight how I was simply self-sabotaging myself. I was having an upper limit problem that, like, life was too good, so then I did something to screw it up. Confession time. I've been fired from 2 serious adult jobs. I mean, I know the technical reasons why, but I couldn't emotionally figure out like why I had gotten to that place that those things happened. And after reading The Big Leap, I'm like, self-sabotage. I get it. So I feel like this category is mostly directed at myself, except for this like one area. And there's a quote, and it's like, what other people think of me is none of my business. And I need to start living by that, because what bothers and upsets me is what other people think about me and what other people say about me. And I've also had people say really negative things about me being a yoga teacher or me being an online yoga teacher, and I just keep coming back to that quote. What other people think about me is none of my business. But it's so hard. And the final category of things to let go of is limiting beliefs and crappy old stories. I feel like I have the same limiting beliefs that most people do, which is just that I'm not good enough, that people don't really like me, that I'm not cool. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people feel like that. I know that working on the confidence to just be myself is like a huge part of this. It's weird to me, but it's not weird at the same time, like how comfortable I am in front of the camera and how easy it is for me to sit down and like talk openly to the camera like this. I don't know if I could let these thoughts out to someone like face to face, but oddly, I'm not scared of anyone seeing this video. Like, this is me, this is how I feel, like. So weirdly, I feel like being on video gives me confidence, even though I'm not like super happy with the way I look right now or like at my healthiest, but I still feel, I don't know, I can't explain it. This was obviously like the hardest section of the whole decade in review. I think this is the part that took me the longest. So finally, Marie says, what has holding on to all of these crappy old stories and limiting beliefs and resentments and anger, what has this held you back from in the last decade? And what would happen if you let go? I know that holding on to resentments and anger, especially about my past self and mistakes I've made and things I'm not proud of that I've done, like holding on to that does nothing but bring down present Alicia. Like, past Alicia fucked up, okay? Like, let it go. So much easier said than done, but I'm really trying to work on keeping that mindset. Like, I'm here in the present and I'm doing what I love to do, making videos and doing the best I can, and I need to be happy with that and stop beating myself up for what I did in the past. I need to let go of like all these thoughts that like I'm a loser and people don't like me, and like be confident. And if the only way I can be confident is like having these conversations with the camera, like I've been super inspired this year by Brene Brown, like her talks on vulnerability and confidence and what does she call it? She has like a mental breakdown and she calls it her spiritual awakening, and I like really relate to that. But I've realized that being vulnerable is actually what feels good for me, and so maybe that's why I have the confidence on camera. I don't know. I connect most with people who are real in their videos and let their vulnerability show through, and I'm feeling called to make some videos like that as well. Just like, I read a great quote somewhere that was like, be who you needed when you were younger. It might have been a Facebook meme, but I can't get that out of my head. And that's what I keep coming back to as like my purpose and my dharma. Like, I think about how depressed I was in my 20s and how I wasted 8 years of my life because I didn't have someone else's approval for following my dream. Like, if I can get any kind of positive message out to someone younger than me, and that they can hear my story and be like, holy shit, I don't want to waste 8 years. I'm not going to listen to XYZ. I'm going to go follow my dream. That's the kind of impact I hope to have. I might just be yammering off into the great unknown. I don't know. Ugh, section 3 is over. Section 4, what's next? This was my favorite part of the whole decade in review, because looking toward the future makes me feel happy and hopeful. And as I mentioned, sometimes when I look toward the past, keep it back there. So Marie listed a few different categories in here, and I just kind of jotted a sentence or so for each one. What I want to create is an online business that sustains me financially and gives me time and location freedom. And I want to create videos. Like, I love video. That is my medium or whatever. For my health, I just want a healthier body than I have now. I gained 20 pounds in 2019, and I'd like to take that off in 2020 and not spend a whole decade taking it off, but I'm not gonna obsess about my weight. As I said earlier and in my video, like, I'm done dieting. I want to be healthy enough to do the activities I want to do, like yoga and dancing and surfing. Like, I don't care about having six-pack abs or competing in bodybuilding shows like my brother. For my financial goals, I just want to not have to worry about money. Like, I don't need billions in the bank. I don't need $1 million house or anything like that. Oh, relationships. As I mentioned earlier, I'm working on being more vulnerable, which I think, you know, it's not just about like being emotional, but just sharing my feelings in general, and even when I'm pissed off, telling people that too. And then there's romantic relationships, which is pretty depressing. I've been single for over 4 years, and maybe 2020 will be the year I start dating. I don't know. I feel like I've got more healing to do there as well. But if Zac Efron comes calling, I'm answering. My community goals, as I mentioned earlier, is to be who you needed when you were younger. I created my online yoga studio because that's what I needed when I was in my 20s. When I was depressed and I was drinking so much and overweight and unhappy, if I would have had an online yoga place to go, like, I knew I did yoga. I had DVDs and stuff I did at home, but I was an introvert and ashamed of my weight. I was not stepping foot inside a yoga studio. Anyways, the point is that I'm trying to create that community that I needed a decade ago, when I was lost and depressed and alone and didn't want to leave the house. And finally, my emotional goals for the next decade, which I wrote down. I want to feel happy, joyful, content, satisfied, accomplished, purposeful, making a difference, successful on my own terms, proud of myself, and my number one emotion is free. Freedom is just my favorite word. I think like free to be me, free to do what I want, free to run and play, free to create, just like freedom. So that's kind of goals for the next decade. And then Marie asks you to think about 3 goals just for the next year for 2020. My 3 goals are things I'm already working on anyway, and just what I really hope to accomplish in 2020. The first is getting my online business to a place where it is supporting me financially. My second goal is to get my health back, at least to that place where it was a year ago before I gained these 20 pounds. Like I said, I don't need 6-pack abs. I just want to be able to move. Speaking of moving, goal number 3 is to move out of Michigan. Or at least for the winter. Like, this has to be my last winter in Michigan. I said this last winter. Last winter I said it was my last winter in Michigan. This winter, I mean it. This has to be my last winter in Michigan. If I don't need to suffer through this seasonal depression, why am I? I'm a single woman, 2 cats. I can find a place to go for the winter, I'm sure. So finally, section 5 is what future me wants me to know right now. I was able to do this sort of from where I'm sitting now and looking back 10 years and what I would have said to myself 10 years ago. I feel like that's the same crap I need to say to myself right now. And I don't mean crap, but I feel like it's those same kind of things that are holding me back that were holding me back a decade ago. So Marie gave 3 prompts to get you thinking for this, and it was, I'd love you to start, I'd love you to focus on, and I'd love you to remember. So future me would say, I'd love you to start believing in yourself and trusting your gut and being confident. Again, the same thing I would have said to myself 10 years ago. But it's something that I need to continue working on. And honestly, I feel so much better than I did just like 2 or 3 months ago. Especially when it comes to like videos and like how I feel about myself when I'm editing my videos and stuff. Future me would say, I'd love you to remember that it's your life and no one else's. The more I think about this, the more I just realize how much of my life I've spent trying to live up to someone else's expectations and goals and what they think is best for me, and I need to start living my life for me. Damn. And future me would say, I'd love you to focus on creating content that helps others and taking care of yourself. I've said a few times that I'm too hard on myself and I beat myself up, and I'm really working on that. I need to work more on taking care of myself and being kind to myself and just focus on creating my content, because that's what I love doing. Like, I love making videos. I love coming up with ideas and planning and like researching and finding little facts to like throw out there and stuff. And when I think about it, I've loved making videos ever since I was a kid. When we got our first like camcorder in the 90s, that was the big huge like thing. Like, I loved carrying that around at holidays and filming. And then the day I graduated high school, or the day of my high school graduation party, I carried a video camera around, or I made my ex-boyfriend carry it around and film me. And then with my graduation money from the high school graduation, I went and bought myself a video camera. And then I was obsessed with making videos in college. Like, it just makes sense. And that's just with videos. Like, the more and more I think about things like my love of animals, and I never liked the taste of steak, and just like things like I should have been vegan my whole life. You know, it's like, I guess what I'm really feeling is that I'm finally becoming who I'm supposed to have been my whole entire life. And like all these like twists and turns and things I've liked since I was a kid, and like habit, I don't know. I really feel like I'm finally understanding myself a lot more, and understanding who I am and who I'm supposed to be, who I want to be, like who I'm becoming. All right, that's it. That's my decade in review. I think I said it at the beginning of this video, it ended up being so much more emotional than I thought it was going to be. I really recommend watching Marie's videos and doing this exercise yourself, and try not to beat yourself up over the last decade, which I ended up doing quite a bit, but instead looking forward to the next decade. And I'm just like, even though I got sad during some of the decade in review, I ended up coming out of it just feeling full of like hope and potential and confident even. I feel like this next decade, and especially this next year, is just gonna be fucking awesome. Alright, this vlog has already gone on way longer than I was planning, so I am going to end it here. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any decade in review thoughts, leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next vlog.